Hello, my friends. AmyR here with Prairie Paper and Ink. Welcome back to my channel and another STAMPtember limited edition collab video. Today's collab is with Honeybee Stamps, and it is a red rubber on cling foam set. This is the Holiday Greetings set, and not only is it red rubber on cling foam, it is like pre-cut out, so you just pop the stamps out, they're ready to go. There is also a coordinating die set. I don't have the die set, but I will have links to all the things like I always do. And as with all the STAMPtember limited edition collabs, these are all one and done. When they sell out, they are not restocked. However, plenty of amazing products to choose from. Honeybee being no exception. They have a massive, fabulous product line, and I'll have a link to it with the supplies in the description box below the video. So because this is a red rubber on cling foam stamp, I had to remove my grip mat from my MISTI. Now, if you don't work with grip mats and you just have the foam mat that comes in the MISTI, you just take that out, because the red rubber and cling foam are a lot thicker than your clear photopolymer stamps. So I've got the stamp on my MISTI. This is Simon's Rainforest cardstock, and I just lined it up on my little stamp and stencil mat there. I could have taken the backing off the acetate off the stamp and stencil mat, and then the cardstock would stick into place. But I don't like doing that, because then I would have to clean the clean the mat. It's easier to just wipe off that acetate. So I just used the magnet. And I stamped this image with VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink. And this is an insanely detailed image, which is why I assume they went with the red rubber on the cling foam. Because, oh, the detail. You could watercolor this. You could do so many things. I was in a very, blue mood. Blue mood, tone on tone, something different, you know? And after I had stamped those panels, I die cut them with a rectangle wafer die, and then die cut more of that Rainforest cardstock with one of the Lacy point frames wafer dies. And then I dug through my stash, and I pulled out the Honeybee Stamps Let Nature Sing sentiment set. And I am going to heat emboss this Seasoned Tweetings greeting. I thought it was fitting. Onto just a scrap of that Rainforest cardstock. So I used my anti-static powder tool. I stamped the image or the sentiment with clear embossing ink, and then heat embossed it with detailed gold embossing powder. And then once that was melted, I just use a microfiber cloth and just buff away that excess anti-static powder, because it don't look very pretty. And then once that was buffed away, I used the coordinating wafer die to die cut the sentiment, and I also die cut an extra layer, and we'll get to that in a minute. So for my card bases, these are top folding A2 white note cards, so 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches. And I put my card base into my MISTI, and then I lined up the stamp onto what will be the inside of the card. And I'm going to ink up the stamp with Simon's Dew Positively Saturated ink, which is a fairly light ink, but I wanted it even lighter. So I inked it up, and then I'm just stamping it onto a scrap of paper first. So that gets like the first impression of the ink. And without re-inking the stamp, I'm going to stamp that onto the inside of the card. So I'm going to get a much lighter impression. So it's not quite as distracting, but you can still see all the detail and everything, and then I can easily write over this. So stamp that just like so. It doesn't need to be perfect. It's the inside. It's a bonus in my world. And then I just did it again. So inked up the stamp, pressed it onto the scrap of paper, and then without re-inking it up, stamped it onto the inside of the second card base. And then I used another sentiment from that Let Nature Sing set, and I'm going to stamp that with Simon's Raindrop ink. Like I said, I'm very monochromatic with these cards. So line that up, and then inked it up with the Raindrop ink, stamped that onto the inside of the card, and did that on the second one, and that finished off the insides. And then for my card front, I'm using the Pinstripes and Polka Dots Winter Pattern Paper Pack from Honeybee. Can't go wrong with pinstripes. I love me a good stripe. It goes with everything. Same with polka dots, these are good neutrals. So I flipped through this pack and ended up changing my mind and choosing this other color because I was like, ooh, this goes even better with that Rainforest cardstock. So these packs of pattern paper are 6 by 8.5 inches. So you can cut them in half and get 2 A2 card fronts, which is exactly what I did. So I trimmed it in half and then I just trimmed off 1/2 inch. So it ends up being 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches because these will completely cover my card bases. So once I got these trimmed, I'm going to adhere them to my card bases with liquid glue. And then I dug through my stash and I have different metallic threads. And this is just going to add a little extra something. Plus it'll help tie in the gold heat embossing I did for the sentiment. So I took this gold metallic thread and I'm just wrapping it around the panel that I stamped with that holiday greetings image. So I'm securing it to the back with just a bit of washi tape just to hold it in place until I get my foam tape in place. So wrapped it around a few times, taped it into place on the back of this panel, and then I'm going to use Simon's Big Mama foam tape on the back of this just to build up a little bit of dimension without creating a whole lot of bulk. So slap that on the back of there, and then I'm going to adhere this to the cardstock that I die cut with the Lacy point frames wafer die. And then once all that's framed up, I can adhere this to the card front, and then we're going to add just a little bit of splatter, not a ton. This is me being very conservative with the splatter. Because again, if you watch my videos, you know, it's usually like 3 types of splatter and completely cover all the cards and my desk and myself. Just is what it is. But sometimes I can be a little bit lighter handed. So I used my Gonzai Tombi Starry Colors, added some water to the gold shade, one of the gold shades, swirled it up really good with my fan brush, and then just added a little bit. For me, this is a hint of splatter. Just a bit. So let that dry. And then the sentiments, like I said, I die cut scraps with the coordinating wafer die just to back this a little bit, give it just a little bit more dimension. And then I'm going to pop this over the gold thread with some thin foam squares. So trim those down a bit and then just put the foam squares kind of on the top and the bottom of the sentiment. So again, so it just lays evenly. And then once that's in place, my final little bit of embellishment, I'm using some of the Honeybee Winter Wonder gem stickers. I've talked about these a lot in the past. They've got tons of gem stickers. They're self-adhesive, they're fabulous, and they coordinate with like all their pattern paper packs. And I hoard them. I have a fabulous little collection of these. They're beautiful. I love it. But sometimes I use them, like today. So they're peel and stick. So all I do is I just peel them off with my little die pick and press them into place. And that finished off these cards. So this image is just, my camera was not fully focusing on them properly. This image is insanely detailed. Yeah. Super detailed. Love the monochromatic look. These were fun. And they're definitely, even though I've, added a few extra steps, they're ones you could do quite a few of, in my opinion. So, anywho, links to all the things are in the description box below. Thank you so much for watching and thumbs upping and commenting. I appreciate you all, and I'll see you all very soon in the next one. Bye. Thank you so much to my amazing Patreon supporters. For anyone that might be interested in joining my Patreon community and supporting me, the link to my Patreon is in the description box below the video. For everyone else, as always, thank you all so much for taking the time to watch my videos, for thumbs upping, commenting, subscribe if you haven't, I'd love to have you. And here's a couple other videos for you to check out in case you missed them. Bye!